All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Sixpoint Brewery, and they're out of Brooklyn, New York, and this is their Bengali, formerly known as Bengali Tiger. So this is an IPA that comes in at 6.6% alcohol by volume, 66 IBUs, and at the time of review, I believe that this can is just over 4 months old, but it also has a best by date of November 6th of 2025. So it seems like they give this one a 6-month best by date. It just says PBG 25126, and I believe that is the 126th day of 2025, which just so happens to be May 6th of 2025, which again would make this one just over 4 months old by the time I'm reviewing it. So I'm reviewing this one as a shelfie beer for the month of September 2025, and it's been a long time since I've had this one. So long, in fact, that I've actually never had this specific version. I've had the aforementioned Bengali Tiger. So they originally released that one back in like the mid-2000s, and then in the mid-2010s, they tweaked the recipe of Bengali Tiger, and because they did so, they kind of just removed the tiger portion of the name, just went with Bengali, and again, they tweaked the recipe. This one is now brewed with Mandarina Bavaria and Amarillo hops. They do have a little spiel here on the side. It said it all started back in 2004 with a rocking blaze orange homebrew. We saw the foam rings down the glass like tiger stripes. Thousands of batches later, the Bengali still slashes with a huge citrus aroma and clean hop bite. So like I said, we used to be named Bengali Tiger, then they switched the name to Bengali and tweaked the recipe. So I've had Bengali Tiger, but it's not the exact same beer. It's definitely a different version of it. So I will see if I enjoy this one. Can you believe it or not? I was looking, I'm like, I don't think I've ever actually had this since they changed the name. And they changed the name back in 2014, I believe it was. So wild. Anyway, let's give it a pour into the Captain Lawrence glass that I don't use that often. Don't see a lot of Captain Lawrence beers here in Buffalo. I'm going to try to go with a heavy, hard pour here if I can. I want to get a decent... Did I save it? George the Animal Steel coming out, Harry. And I saved it. I did. All right, anyway. Throw this over here. So I wanted to go with a little bit of a hard pour. We got a little Dirty Glass Mafia. I haven't used this glass in a while, but I did wash it. So how does this look? It looks exactly like they say. You know, they said, again, they named it Bengali because it was an orange beer, and I would say that's definitely orange. In person, it's a little bit more vibrant, like kind of like, how would I do this? Nah, not like that, but maybe more like that. I don't know. From the side, it's not. But it has a little bit more of a glowing orange. On camera, it looks more of a darker orange. You can see on camera, you can see the shadow of my hand. Can't make it out perfectly. About a finger and a half of this off-white, creamy-looking head. The clarity is not, like I said, there is particles suspended in animation. I don't think there's really any way for you to see that. I'll try to hold it up a little bit closer here. Can you see any particles there? I don't know. We'll see if it comes out on camera. But you might see a little bit of like the particles just kind of like floating. But yeah, it definitely has a gentle haze to it. But looks really nice for an old school American IPA, which is what this beer basically is. And I love Amarillo hops. I always get like huge blood orange, so I'm hoping that happens here. Yep, for sure. Orange rind, orange peel, orange zest. And let's be honest here. Let's call a spade a spade. This is not a fresh beer. But the beauty about shelfie beer reviews, at least in my opinion, is that it's not always going to be perfect. The whole point of shelfie beer reviews is beers you can easily grab off the shelves for the most part. So you're at a grocery store doing your grocery shopping. You want to just grab something. A lot of times you probably won't even look at the date. You just pick, oh, I like that IPA. I want a beer for the weekend. Same thing. You're at a gas station, maybe even your local bottle shop. We're in a phase where you can't always get like these big. I was going to say nationally distributed. I don't think like Sixpoint's nationally distributed, but you're not always going to find these super fresh. So I think that's the allure for me for shelfie beers is like, let's see how this is after 4.5 months. Would I rather review this and drink this a month old? Sure. It's not a perfect world though. So you got to deal with what you got to deal with. So I will say over 4 months old has a nice aroma. Yeah, it's blood orange. It's orange zest, orange rind. A little bit of like a pithy white grapefruit. Ooh, what is that? Like an underripened like apricot. Maybe even a little of like a rind of like a honeydew melon. Or even like the rind of like a watermelon. It has a pretty decent like resinous pine quality. It's floral, bit earthy. And there's a decent amount of malt here. It's not like overbearing, but it's more of that bready, slightly caramel kind of malt character. Listen, for an IPA that's over 4 months old, that is, I picked off a shelf, it smells pretty good. Does it smell amazing? No, but it smells pretty good. Like, I don't know what else to expect out of this one. I just hope it's a nice beer. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Oh, this has a big bitterness. You know what this reminds me of? Reminds me of the first time I had like an old school East Coast IPA in the realm. I'm not saying it tastes exactly like, but in the realm of like 60 Minute from Dogfish Head. Pretty big earthiness on the finish, some resinous pine. There's nice citrus. The malt's noticeable. The bitterness is building. Even after that first sip, just sitting here letting it linger, it's building. This is nice. And again, I'm in my West Coast IPA phase. And what I mean by West Coast IPA phase is like my palate right now craves dryness, craves bitterness. I don't like super over-the-top hazies. Let me rewind. I do like them, but they're not my favorite anymore. I'm starting to dig beers like this more and more. So when I go back to a classic like this, tendency to enjoy it. Body of this is nice for 6.6. This is like medium, a touch over medium. Yeah, it's really nice. The mouthfeel, old school mouthfeel. It's crisp yet smooth on the finish. It's moderate carbonation. Body's spectacular. Mouthfeel is nice. Kind of what I expect, but nothing amazing. The taste, it's the nose carried over to a T. This does not taste faded either. A lot of times with old school American IPAs, or even old school West Coast IPAs, one way I know how a beer is faded in that style, at least, you know, in the past, would be like, I'd get this nice, like, and I should say nice because I like the note, but it shouldn't be in the beer, like a black tea or like a tea kind of note. Not getting that here. What I'm getting here is right up front, a mixture of a bready caramel malt, hits me at the forefront, dives underneath the palate, hits again on the back end, omnipresent, never steps in the way, but it's always noticeable to some degree. After that, it's that blood orange rind, a little bit of like a juicy blood orange, a generic like navel orange, like pith, maybe a little zest. White grapefruit without question, like again, a zesty kind of white grapefruit, I'd say, like a pithy, bittering white grapefruit. Halfway through the palate, I get a little bit of that underripened, like apricot, nectarine, something in the stone fruit realm. And then the finish is just a big blast of this floral, resinous pine bitterness. This is moderately to a touch over moderately bitter. It's bone dry. It's not balanced. It's more dry and bitter than anything. Yes, there's a nice sweet malt at the forefront, but it's kind of drowned out on the back of the palate with a dry bitterness. There's even a little bit of like this earthy component that I can't quite pinpoint. Yeah, it's really nice. 6.6%. You can't tell. I mean, I can tell, and I can tell it's 6.6% because of the flavors. Look at the fucking glass lacing. Wow, that's beautiful. You know, I talked about it in the Stone IPA review, and I was so happy that many of you agreed with me. Listen, again, I said this earlier, we don't live in a perfect world. That's why I'm drinking this over 4 months old. Even though it's within the best by date, it's still over 4 months old. Sometimes you can't find beers super fresh, and sometimes breweries get bought out. Sometimes they sell. Sometimes the quality suffers. A lot of that can happen. When I revisit that Stone IPA in my brain, I was like, man, this is what I remember Stone IPA being. I'm sure a lot of people who drink this beer, on the regular probably can tell that it fell off a little bit or it's changed over the years. And some of you said it has, but you say you still enjoy it. That's the thing with this beer. I've never had this specific version of it, but I had Bengali Tiger, and this is what I'm remembering Bengali Tiger being. Maybe not as bitter, maybe a little bit more malty, but not this beer, the old one. But this is exactly what I remember Bengali Tiger being. So even though they updated the recipe 11 years ago, it's still kind of what I remember this beer being. And what this beer is to me now is just a really well-made, enjoyable American IPA that is a shelfy beer that you can find in a lot of spots, but it's still pretty fucking good. Am I screaming from the rooftops? I am not, but if anybody gave me this and I was like, hey, I could go for an IPA, I would not blink an eye to drink the entire fucking can and enjoy every second of it. So yeah, I mean, this is another one of those classic East Coast, like shelfy beers. They didn't used to be shelfies, but now we'll just say this is one one of these classic East Coast IPAs from yesteryear that still really does a good job of delivering what I want out of this beer. It's not the best American IPA I've ever had, but it's certainly not the worst, and it's pretty damn good for what it is. So I'm going to give Bengali IPA from Sixpoint a high 4 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.1. I think this is a really nice beer that I can get down with, and I am getting down with it as we speak. Really nice stuff. Well done. Yeah. Price point availability. In my neck of the woods, $11.99 a 6-pack. I didn't see 12 packs, but I imagine 12 packs of this probably in the $18 to $20 realm. You're talking, $1.50 to $2 for a can all day, every day. It's 6.6%. Nice flavors. I'm fine with it. Availability, here's where you should probably go on the side of the can here. It says sixpoint.com. Go to sixpoint.com. They probably have a beer finder. We've always gotten Sixpoint here in New York State because they're from Brooklyn. The first time I tried some of their beer again was the early 2010s, and I've been drinking their stuff for a long time. But to be honest with you, I haven't consumed a lot of their beers over the past 5 years. Just haven't. So many breweries out there, especially local and regional, that I don't grab Sixpoint stuff a lot. But when I do, I'm kind of reminded that they used to be pretty big players, especially in New York State. And this is a perfect example. So if you've had this one before, please post in the comment section and let me know what you thought about it. I think it's a nice beer, a damn good shelfy beer, and I am not going to think twice to pick up some more of their beer to review if I see something that I haven't had in a while that I want to try, or maybe a new offering that I want to give a rip on it. So anyway, appreciate each and every one of you stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.